Alright guys, so today we're going to be reviewing Mary Shelley's School for Monsters. This was another book that was sent to me by my good friend Chris, aka the Mount Vernon Kid. Chris, thank you so much for this comic. And yeah, this was another Kickstarter comic that I got from Chris. And I gotta say, these Kickstarter books do surprise me from time to time, and this is no different. First off, most of the... and I understand. I'm very well aware that Kickstarter comics, they usually range from basically soft cover and very few issues. This is like, it went all out. First off, when do you get a legit hardcover these days for Kickstarter books? This is, yeah. There's also some neat goodies inside for the comic. And it's very well put together. I really enjoy the artwork, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, this was a very well... I don't know what the numbers were for the backing of this book, but it definitely did well enough to do something like this. So, what is Mary Shelley's School for Monsters? Mary Shelley's School for Monsters, you can see from the title, from the cover right here, is... you can kind of guess this is kind of like that Ghoul School kind of Monster High. Well, not Monster High. That's not the right one. I would say if you were a fan of like Emily the Strange or Courtney Crumb. You guys remember Courtney Crumb? Those comics? You don't remember Courtney Crumb. Those were cool comics. That was cool. I'm gonna shut up now. Anyway, this basically has a lot of feeling of like Ghoul School, Courtney Crumb. Gotham, a little bit of Gotham Academy, like the young adult, every age kind of monster comic. Basically, what this story is that it centers around a version of Mary Shelley, and what by a version of Mary Shelley, I mean Mary Shelley, when she was a child, encountered a guy who would be the inspiration for Dr. Moreau from the island of Dr. Moreau, and basically encountered the Necronomicon, which is a living book. In the scuffle, she got split into two different personalities. One lived her life and created Frankenstein, wrote the book Frankenstein. The other remained an immortal child for about 200 years, and stays with a child that is the child version of Frankenstein, and they actually go around protecting monsters in a school. So in this story, essentially what this is that the the class goes to help La Llorona. As in, yeah, that La Llorona, who's been trapped inside a video game that is using it as a hex to bind her. It's a very interesting concept. I do like that, you know, this is like, again, if you enjoyed the young goth stuff like Emily the Strange or, you know, Courtney, I bring that up a lot, Courtney Crumb, or Ghoul School or something. That definitely has the feeling. This is a very, like, all-ages, kind of, like, little spooky book. This is something I could give to my little sister, honestly. I also do appreciate that there is, like, some great coloring in here. There's just some fantastic coloring in here. In all aspects, like, there is no color, like, no space is wasted for this book. Like, in no way, shape, or form. None of the space feels out of place. Like, in some, because again, I understand there's budgetary reasons, so I do understand that, like, for some books, that they are, like, budgetarily held back and have to use, like, only one color or one sort of paneling to hide, like, several things. But the artwork here is very vivid, and even when it's using, like, dull colors, they very much pop in the shadows, in the inking of and all of that. So I do appreciate that. I just love that there is just a variation of colors that spring everywhere. Like, there's just some great detail here. The story itself is very well done. I do like the idea of having La Llorona as, instead of a villain, she's a victim. And that's the thing, is that monsters here are, you know, the victims, and humans, for the most part, are the villains. So it's an interesting take. It's nothing I haven't seen before, but, you know, every story's been told. You know, it's just how you tell that story is what matters. Like, that's the big thing right there, is, you know, the matter of telling that story. That's the big thing. So, in for a few little negatives just a few mild negatives here and there. I do feel like the comic just ends. Like, it just stops. Yes, they beat the bad guy, and the villain herself, who is behind kidnapping La Llorona and subsequently these children, she's not really she doesn't feel like a major threat, and in fact, she's kind of last minute. She feels very, like, last minute. So, I didn't really, like, feel the threat there. It didn't really feel like a major threat. And like I said, the comic really just kind of ends. Like, it just stops. I'm like, oh, that's where we're stopping? That's the end? Okay. I wasn't aware. The writer, Jessica Mason, and Anna Wyschek, the artist, and Joel Rodriguez, all great creative team. This was a very well done book. Aside from those two little gripes here and there, this is a very solid book, and I'm very curious to see what they will do next. This creative team will do next for their comics. But yeah, so there you go, guys. That's my review for Mary Shelley's School of Monsters. The full title is La Llorona in the Machine. So yeah. All in all, I also like the Medusa in here. Just side note, I do enjoy the Medusa character, where she reminds me a lot of Entrapta from She-Ra. So I feel like that's where the inspiration came from. I could be wrong, but that's where I felt the inspiration come from. Anyway, so once again, Chris, thank you so much for this comic. And other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.